The sun had not yet risen when the young monk Daiyu awoke in his small dwelling at the Temple of Serene Clouds. Like every day for the past 5 years, his first gesture was to reach out and gently touch the ceramic cup resting beside his bed. The smooth, slightly uneven surface under his fingers brought a familiar wave of comfort and memories. This was no ordinary cup. It had belonged to Master Liwei, who found Daiyu when he was still an orphan boy on the streets of the ancient city. Back then, Daiyu survived by gathering scraps of food and sleeping under abandoned roofs. It was on a particularly cold morning that Master Liwei found him, shivering and hungry, huddled under the awning of a closed shop. The old monk said nothing at first. He simply sat down next to the boy and, with deliberately slow movements, pulled a simple ceramic cup from within his robes. Daiyu watched, captivated, as the monk poured hot water from a small flask into the cup and added a few tea leaves. The gentle aroma filled the cold morning air. "Some people," Master Liwei said, breaking the silence, "see only an old ceramic cup, but for those who know how to look deeper, this cup contains far more than tea." He handed the cup to the boy's trembling hands. "It holds the work of the potter who shaped it, the earth that provided the clay, the fire that transformed it, the rain that nurtured the tea leaves, the sun that made them grow, and the countless generations of farmers who perfected the art of tea cultivation." That moment marked the beginning of Daiyu's transformation. Master Liwei took him to the temple, where the boy found not only shelter and food, but a purpose. Over the years, the cup became a symbol of everything his master had taught him. During daily lessons, Master Liwei always used the cup to illustrate the Buddha's deeper teachings. "Observe how the cup embraces emptiness," he would say. "It is the empty space within it that makes it useful. Likewise, it is our ability to empty our minds of biases and attachments that makes us receptive to wisdom." On another occasion, when Daiyu was frustrated with his meditation practice, the master filled the cup to the brim. "An unsettled mind is like an overflowing cup. It cannot hold anything more. But a serene mind, like an empty cup, is ready to receive life's blessings." When Master Liwei passed away 3 years ago, his last words were whispered as he held the cup. "Just like this cup, we are all temporary vessels of life. What matters is not how long we exist, but how we serve the purpose of nourishing and supporting others." Since then, the cup had become even more precious to Daiyu. Each morning, he used it in his meditation practice, recalling the master's teachings. The simple ceramic had absorbed 5 years of daily practice, countless tea sessions, and memorable moments of instruction. Every small mark on its surface told a story. Each imperfection was a reminder of some valuable lesson. To Daiyu, the cup was not just an object. It was a living archive of memories, a tangible symbol of his life's transformation, and a direct connection to his late master's wisdom. In his hands, the simple cup held universes of meaning, oceans of gratitude, and mountains of teachings. On that particular morning, while he engaged in his morning meditation, Daiyu did not know that his relationship with the cup, and with everything it represented, was about to change forever. The wind blowing through the mountains carried not only the scent of pine trees, but also a profound lesson about the true nature of attachment and liberation. The sound of the cup breaking echoed through the temple halls like the toll of a funeral bell. Daiyu stood still, his fixed on the shards scattered across the polished wooden floor. Each fragment caught the morning light like crystallized tears. For 3 days, he barely left his room, overwhelmed by a grief that felt deeper than the very valley where the temple stood. On the 4th day, the other monks began whispering about his reclusion. Some of the younger ones didn't understand how someone so devoted to Buddhist practice could be so disturbed by the loss of a material object. Others, who knew Daiyu's story and that of Master Liwei, understood that this was not just a broken cup. It was as if a tangible part of his master had shattered. It was the elder master, Jen, who first sensed that something deeper was happening. At 92, he had seen generations of monks come and go from the temple. His eyes, though partially clouded by cataracts, seemed to see beyond appearances. While the other monks were concerned about Daiyu's absence from daily practices, Master Jen smiled gently, as if recognizing an old friend on the horizon. The friend called Suffering, who always brings with him the seeds of enlightenment. On the morning of the 5th day, while the mist still embraced the mountains, Dayu finally left his room. He carried the cup's shards carefully wrapped in a piece of red cloth, the same cloth that Master Liwei had used to clean the cup. His steps instinctively led him to the rock garden, where Master Zhen usually meditated in the early hours of the day. The garden was one of the most extraordinary places in the temple. Created hundreds of years ago, it featured 15 stones arranged in a sea of white gravel, meticulously raked into patterns resembling waves. Each stone represented a different mountain, and the monks said that if you could see all 15 stones from a single point of view, you would instantly achieve enlightenment. Master Zhen sat in his usual spot, a small wooden platform at the edge of the garden. His eyes were closed, but a faint smile appeared on his lips as he heard Dayu's footsteps approaching. The young monk knelt before him, silently unwrapping the fragments of the cup. "Master," said Dayu, his voice trembling, "I have lost something precious." Master Zhen slowly opened his eyes. "Show me what you have lost," he gently requested. With trembling hands, Dayu presented the shards. The morning light danced on the broken surfaces, creating tiny rainbows where there had once been only smooth ceramic. The elder master picked up one of the fragments, gently turning it between his knotted fingers. His clouded eyes seemed to see something beyond the physical shards. After a long moment of silence, he spoke. "I see you carry 2 broken cups, one in your hands and one in your heart. Which one causes you more pain?" The question struck Dayu like a lightning bolt on a clear day. His tears, which had dried after days of crying, began to flow again. "It's not just a cup, Master. It's everything it represented. Every moment with my master, every teaching, every—" "Ah," Master Zhen interrupted gently, "so you believe that your master's teachings resided within this cup? That his wisdom was contained within these ceramic walls? Tell me, Dayu, when you drink water from a cup, after drinking, where is the water? In the cup or in you?" The rock garden remained silent as Dayu absorbed the master's words. A gentle breeze moved some grains of sand in the garden, subtly altering the carefully raked patterns. In the same way, something began to shift within the young monk's mind. "The teachings," continued Master Zhen, "are like the water you drank. The cup was merely a temporary vessel. Everything your master shared with you is already within your heart, as secure as the mountains surrounding us. No wind can break that. No fall can shatter that truth." Master Zhen slowly rose from his wooden platform, his deliberate movements carrying the grace of decades of mindful practice. "Come with me," he said to Dayu, who still held the fragments of the cup as if they were sacred relics. "There's something I need to show you." The 2 monks walked in silence along an ancient path winding out of the temple. The path was known as the Way of 1,000 Contemplations, because it was said that Buddha himself, in one of his past lives, had stopped 1,000 times along this same route to contemplate different aspects of existence. The sound of the Minghe River grew louder with each step. It was a sacred river to the temple, its crystalline waters flowing down from the snowy mountains rising to the north. For centuries, the monks had used its waters not only for their daily needs, but also as a constant source of teachings on the nature of reality. When they reached the riverbank, the sun was already higher in the sky, making the water's surface sparkle as if thousands of diamonds danced upon it. Master Zhen led Dayu to a large flat rock that jutted over the water. Known as the Awakening Stone, many masters throughout the centuries had used this spot to impart important teachings. "Watch the river for a moment," instructed Master Zhen. "What do you see?" Dayu looked closely at the water flowing ceaselessly before them. "I see water running over rocks, Master. I see sunlight reflecting, leaves being carried by the current, small whirlpools forming and disappearing." The elder master smiled. "Now give me one of the cup's fragments." Hesitantly, Dayu separated one of the larger shards and handed it to the master. It was a piece of the cup's rim where a delicate lotus flower pattern had been painted. With a gentle motion, Master Zhen tossed the fragment into the water. The shard cut through the river's surface with a soft plop, creating a series of concentric ripples that expanded in all directions. "Watch carefully," said the master. Dayu observed the ripples spreading out, meeting other ripples. creating complex patterns on the water's surface. Some waves struck the riverbank stones and bounced back, while others continued downstream until they faded from view. Now, Master Zen continued, "Tell me, where are the waves?" Daiyu frowned, confused. "They disappeared, Master." "And the river? Has it been permanently disturbed by the waves?" "No, Master. The river returned to flowing as before." Master Zen nodded slowly. "The mind is like this river, Daiyu. The events of our lives, whether joys or sorrows, gains or losses, are like this shard we threw into the water. They create waves, disturbances on our surface. Some of these waves seem enormous in the moment they occur. They can meet with other waves, old memories, future fears, and create even more complex patterns of suffering." A gentle breeze swept through the valley, bringing the scent of plum blossoms growing along the riverbanks. The master continued, "But observe, the river doesn't reject the shard. It doesn't try to prevent the waves from forming. Nor does it cling to them, trying to hold them on its surface. It simply lets them come and go, while its deeper nature remains unchanged." Daiyu looked at the remaining fragments in his hands, then at the river, which continued its eternal flow. "But Master, how can I not care about the loss? How can I just let go of something so significant?" Master Zen took another fragment from Daiyu's hands and held it against the sunlight. "It's not about not caring, young monk. It's about understanding the true nature of all things. Look at this shard. It reflects the sunlight just as it did when it was part of the whole cup. Its essential nature hasn't changed. In the same way, the teachings you received, the love your master shared, the transformation you experienced, none of that can be broken or lost." A fish leapt in the river, creating a new set of ripples that mingled with the natural undulations of the water. "Your pain," Master Zen continued, "is like these waves, natural, real, but not permanent. It is not the essence of the river, just as suffering is not your true essence." In the days following the river lesson, a subtle change began to occur in Daiyu. Like the morning mist that gradually dissipates with the rising sun, his pain began to transform into something different. Not an absence of feeling, but a deeper understanding. One morning, while sweeping the fallen leaves in the temple courtyard, Daiyu found a small piece of colored glass half buried in the earth. It was a fragment of deep blue, polished by time. The sunlight passing through it cast dazzling patterns on the ground. This sparked something in his mind. A thought began to take shape. Over the following weeks, Daiyu devoted his free hours to a special project. In the quietest corner of the temple garden, near an ancient ginkgo tree, he began creating a mosaic with the fragments of the broken cup. He didn't try to reconstruct the cup as it had been. That would have been fighting the nature of impermanence. Instead, he allowed each fragment to find its own place in a new pattern. Other monks occasionally stopped by to watch his work. Some offered pieces of broken pottery they had found, and Daiyu incorporated them into the design. The mosaic grew organically, like a garden, each broken piece contributing to something greater than its original form. Master Zen visited often, sitting silently as Daiyu worked. During one of these visits, when the mosaic was nearly complete, he commented, "I see that you have understood the deeper lesson of the broken cup." Daiyu paused in his work, his hands dirty with mortar. "What lesson is that, Master?" "That nothing is truly lost, only transformed. Every fragment you once saw as a loss has now become part of something new. The memories of your master were not in the cup, just as the moon's reflection is not truly in the water that reflects it." The mosaic Daiyu created didn't have a defined shape at first glance. From certain angles, it seemed to show waves, reminding one of the river where Master Zen had shared his lesson. From other angles, people saw different images. Some said they saw mountains, others perceived lotus flowers, and there were those who saw serene faces of Buddhas. As the work neared completion, Daiyu realized he had learned more from the broken cup than he had ever learned from it intact. Each fragment had become a teacher, each crack a lesson on the nature of reality. Years passed, and the mosaic became a special place in the temple. New monks arriving were brought there to learn about impermanence and transformation. Sometimes, during spring mornings when the sun rose at a particular angle, the entire mosaic seemed to come alive, each broken fragment shining with its own light. Daiyu, now a master himself, often brought his own disciples to the mosaic. When they asked about the secret to living without suffering, he would smile and say, "Observe closely. Each piece of this mosaic was once something different. A cup, a plate, a vase. Each one experienced what we would consider a tragedy, the breaking, the loss of its original form. But look now, in its apparent destruction, it found a new purpose, a new beauty. It's not that we will never feel pain in life," he would continue. "True liberation lies in understanding that, just like these broken pieces, we can be transformed by our experiences without being diminished by them. Every crack in our heart is an opportunity for the light to enter in a new way." In his deepest reflections, Dayu realized that the mosaic had become much more than a work of art. It was a living testament to the Buddha's teachings on impermanence and transformation. Each fragment told a story of loss and rebirth. Every broken piece was a reminder that beauty can be found not only in perfection, but also, and perhaps especially, in our breaks and repairs. And so, the simple ceramic cup, even in its fragmented form, continued to teach, no longer as a vessel for tea, but as an eternal reminder that our wounds, when embraced with understanding and acceptance, can transform into gateways to deeper wisdom. The mosaic in the garden remained a silent symbol that true liberation is not in never feeling pain again, but in understanding that, like the universe itself, we are eternally capable of transforming and being reborn.